যে অনিল প্রেম ধন করুণা প্রচুর হেন প্রভু কোথা গেলা আচার্য ঠাকুর কাহা মোরা স্বরূপ রূপ কাহা সনাতন কাহা দাস রঘুনাথ পতিত পাবন কাহা মোর ভট্ট যুগ কাহা কবিরাজ এক কালে কোথা গেলা গোরা নটরাজ পাষাণে কুটিব মাথা অনলে পশিব গৌরাঙ্গ গুণের নিধি কোথা গেলে পাব সেসব সঙ্গীর সঙ্গে যে কইল বিলাস সে সঙ্গ না পায়া কান্দে নরোত্তম দাস জয় বৈষ্ণব ঠাকুর জয় বৈষ্ণব ঠাকুর বৈষ্ণব ঠাকুর জয় বৈষ্ণব ঠাকুর জয় মধ্বাচার্য বৈষ্ণব ঠাকুর শ্রীল মধ্বাচার্য জয় বৈষ্ণব ঠাকুর হরে কৃষ্ণ 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 হরে 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 রামা রাম রাম হরে হরে Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada. Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol. श्रील प्रभुपाद की श्रीपाद मध्वाचार्य तिरुभावतिथि महामहोत्सव की श्री श्री राधापाद सारथी ललिता विशाखा श्री श्री कर्णता श्री श्री सीताराम लक्ष्मण मनसी श्री लक्ष्मी नरसिंह श्री प्रहलाद महाराज की निताय निताय गौर सीतानाथ प्रेमानंदे। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते गौरचंद्राय। ओम अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपकदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरुं श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगण रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्ण चैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सहगण ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च। हे कृष्ण करुणा सिन्धो दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कान्त राधा कान्त नमोऽस्तुते। तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौरभक्त वृंदा। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। मुखं करोति वाचालं पंगुं लंघायते गिरिं यत्कृपा तमहं वन्दे श्रीगुरुं दीनतारिणं परमानंद माधवं श्रीचैतन्य ईश्वरम्। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामिन्नेति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे। Maharaj, we welcome His Holiness Prahladanand Swami Maharaj. You should be speaking. Okay. Hare Krishna. So today's class will be in English. जिन भक्तों को अंग्रेजी समझ में नहीं आती पीछे अनुवाद कोई कर सकता है. Somebody wants to volunteer. So हमारे विज्ञान विहारी प्रभु पीछे अनुवाद करेंगे. जिन भक्तों को अंग्रेजी से बेहतर हिंदी के प्रति आसक्ति है तो वो पीछे सुन सकते हैं. उम्मीद है कि यही लेक्चर आपको सुनने को मिलेगा. कभी कभी अनुवाद अलग हो जाता है, तो मैंने भी कभी कभी किया था ऐसा दूसरा लेक्चर, पीछे कभी साउंड सिस्टम ठीक से नहीं आता था, वॉल्यूम पहले, so we used to have a different lecture going on behind. Hare Krishna. So Madhvacharya, as we know, is the Acharya from whom we have to derive the greatest of inspiration, because of the fact that our Gaudiya Sampradaya is connected to the Brahma Madhva Gaudiya Sampradaya. Acharyas say that Madhu means bliss and Va indicates knowledge. So therefore Madhva. Originally, Srimad Madhvacharya appeared as the son of Madhyageha Bhatta and Vedavati in Pajaka Kshetra. Pajaka Kshetra comes somewhere in the region between North Kerala and South Karnataka. This is the land where the language of Tulu is spoken. It's not exactly Kannada, but it is Tulu. And the region is somewhere in the area of Udupi. Udupi takes the name from Udupa, which means the crescent moon that was worn by Chandramaulishwara, Lord Shiva. So Udupi, that's the area. And Pajaka Kshetra is the place of appearance of Srimad Madhvacharya. Madhyageha Bhatta, Srila Prabhupada uses this phrase, Madhyageha Bhatta. So in Kannada it is called Nadillaya. Illa means house in Kannada. Geha means house in Sanskrita. All the Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur gives the Sanskrit as well as vernacular equivalent of each of the names of the Acharyas and various pastime places connected with them. So similarly, his name was Nadillaya because those days Brahmanas, as they are called by birth, those who are so-called by birth Brahmanas, they migrated to that area. Kerala and that, North Kerala and that part of Karnataka. It is mentioned that Parashurama had claimed that area from the sea, from Gokarnam till Kanyakumari. So that place is called Parashurama Kshetra. And many of us have visited Udupi in the last few years. How many of us were there for the Udupi Yatra? Okay, some of you. Some wonderful places of pastimes of Srimad Madhvacharya. Generally, I heard in a lecture from one of the devotees that Srila Jayapataka Swami Maharaj had mentioned once that on the day of the disappearance of the Acharya, it will be nice to speak about his teachings, and on the day of appearance to speak about his pastimes. But in many ways, Srimad Madhvacharya's teachings are also his life, and his life is also his teachings. Just to indicate how it all happened, when his parents were coveting a child, they were seeking a son or seeking even an offspring because many of the children had died. One daughter was there. They were never, most of the children before him had died. And so soon, all of a sudden, someone possessed by the energy of the Supreme Lord climbed the Garuda Stamba and announced that very soon a great personality will appear. And he appeared. And he is Mukhya Prana, who is Vayu. Vayu has various forms, so he is Mukhya Prana of those, because Acharyas mentioned, the Madhvacharyas, the Madhva Sampradaya Acharyas mentioned that the Lord was very, very anxious and Brahma was equally anxious that how can Mayavada be smashed, so to say. Mayavadam asachatram prachannam bodham uchyate mayeva vihitan devi kalo brahmana murtaya is what Lord Shiva says in Padma Purana, because he himself appeared as Lord Shiva. It's a case in point that what Lord Shiva introduced as Shankara, it's a philosophy, it's so difficult to handle. Even after so many wonderful Vaishnava Acharyas have appeared, 4 Sampradaya Acharyas have appeared. Srila Prabhupada personally, his pranam mantra says, Nirvishesha Shunyavadi. So it speaks volumes of how Lord Shiva is a wonderful Vaishnava. He is Vaishnavana Mithashambhu. He performed a service that is most difficult against his own instinct. He had to speak about the fact that we are all Krishna. in one sense. And Acharyas say generally, Yo Haresh Cheva Jivanam Bheda Vakta Hari Priyaha. Those who speak about Hari and the Jiva as separate, they are dear to Hari. So, if you go to Udupi, when we pulled the Ratha, many of you may remember, they were shouting, Hari Sarvotama, Vayu Jivotama, Hari Sarvotama, Vayu Jivotama. So that's the whole idea. That Hari is the Supreme Lord and Vayu, who is Mukhya Prana, is the greatest among the Jivas. This is the understanding of the Madhva Sampradaya. And Lord Buddha, for various reasons, Nindasi Yajna Vide Ha 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 Shruti Jadam, Sadaya Hridya Darshita Pashu Ghatam, Keshava Dhrita Buddha Sharira, Jai Jagadisha Hare. Lord Srila Prabhupada frequently quotes this shloka and mentions how Lord Buddha had to appear for a very specific purpose. Because of animal killing having taken over the priorities in Vedic religion, people were following many things, but this was getting very predominant. In the name of sacrifice, they were sacrificing animals. Pashu Ghatam. So Lord Buddha was completely affected by it. And he said that, I deride the Vedas which extol the Vedic sacrifices. And I deride a god of the Vedic religion. Srila Prabhupada mentions, Buddha said, there is no God, you follow me, my teachings. They followed him, but he was God, and so he cheated them. Srila Prabhupada mentions in one of his lectures. So Buddha had to do that. It was very, very important, because Vedic religion was getting, sometimes when it really gets out of hand, you have to have a clean slate. That's what Buddha did. But then Shankara had to do this very, very important contribution. What was the contribution? People who were following Vedic religion, some were seeking real devotional service as the purpose. Some were also masquerading as devotees, masquerading as followers of Vedic religion. So, as they say, we have to separate the wheat from the chaff. The genuine versus the pretenders. The Kaitava Dharmis versus the Dharmadvajis versus the real Bhagavatas. So Shankara came and presented Advaita or Kevala Advaita. Advaita means non-dual. Like we celebrated Madhvacharya's appearance day. That there also the word Advaita is defined. Advaitam Harina Advaita. So the point is there, he is non-different from Hari. Therefore he is Advaita. Shankara's philosophy is also the same. He says everything is one, Advaita, non-dual. We are also Hari in one sense. But what we don't understand, many of us who talk about that, is how Shankara has clearly mentioned, and Srila Prabhupada frequently quotes this, Narayana Paro Avyaktat. The Supreme Lord Narayana is the one who is beyond the unmanifest. Or the cosmic manifestation. The cosmic manifestation. And Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, Brahmno hi pratishtaham. I am beyond the impersonal Brahman. And I am the basis of the impersonal Brahman. But Sripad Shankaracharya also said, Bhaja Govindam, Govindam Bhaja Mudamate, Samprapte Sannihite Kale, Nahi Rakshati Dugrun Karane. At the time of death, all the grammar and Vyakarana and everything, logic, Tarka, everything that you learn is of no use. At that time, what will help? Nahi rakshati dugrun karane. What will help? Bhaja Govindam. So therefore chant the names of Lord Krishna. So he would be what you can describe in modern languages as a closet Vaishnava. But if those who understand the realities of Sanatana Dharma will understand that Lord Shiva is the foremost Vaishnava, foremost among the Vaishnavas, and he appeared as Shankara for a thankless task. So this was Kevala Advaita, non-dual, everything is one. Why? Because people had derided Vedas following Buddha. There was no role for the Vedas. So it was the same Buddhist religion, Pachannam Bauddha Muchyate. It was veiled Buddhism. It was covered and presented, saying that, listen, there is a God, Brahman. Bhato Yasmin Brahma. He who is greatest, he is Brahman. the God of the Vedas is Brahman. And good news for you, you are that God. So people have gone away from Vedas. It's a good lollipop for them. It's nice to accept the Vedas because, hey, the Vedas say I am God. It's a great place to get into. So therefore, this was the transition. It is verily Buddhism itself, but Advaita talks about many concepts. The Prakshepatmika and Avaranatmika potency of Maya, which covers the Brahman, because of which divisions happen, because of the Jivas are believed to exist. Because Brahma Satyam Jagan Mithya. This is a famous story which we say in Vaishnava legend. All of you would have heard it. I want to just repeat it because it's nice. Srila Prabhupada says repetition of anything reinforces the point. He says that, so there was this Mayavadi who came and wrote Soham. Now we know, in Bhagavatam class it's natural Soham. But this is not that, Soham. That I am, Soham. So the Vaishnava comes and writes DA before that. What? Dasoham. So then, obviously Mayavadis will not give up. So he puts another SA before that. Sada Soham. Till the end of class. Sada Soham. And then the Vaishnava comes. In all humility, he writes DA before that. What is that? Dasa Dasoham. And this is the intrinsic difference between the two sampradayas. And Advaiti, it's so natural because he is non-different from God. So therefore, tattvamasi, all these so-called Vedic Vakyas are extolled by Shankara as the defining characteristics of Sanatana Dharma. They are some explanation. Recently we are studying Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, right? In that, the whole point of discussion between Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is coming, and how he is talking about, he's covered the actual meaning of the Vedanta Sutra. So Shankara provided the Shariraka Bhashya. Jibera Nistera lage Sutrukala Vyas, Mayavadi Sunilo Bhashya, Hai Sarvanash. And that's what happens, because Vyasadeva very painfully composed the Brahma Sutra to take on Kannada, Kapila, Jaimini, and all their various Vyakaran, their Nyaya, Vaisheshika, and all these various Mimamsa, all these philosophies, he had to take on that. And the natural commentary of the Srimad Bhagavatam is Srimad Bhagavatam, natural commentary of the Brahma Sutra. But no Vaishnava Sampradaya is considered bona fide until and unless they write a commentary on the Vedanta Sutras. Like tomorrow Maharaj will, I'm sure, be talking about Srimad Ramanujacharya and how he wrote, as per Bodhayana Vritti, the Vedanta Sutra Bhashya, as a follow up to the instructions of Sripad Yamunacharya or the desires of Sripad Yamunacharya. So now we've brought things to a certain point that everybody is one. Now Sripad Ramanujacharya came, he is Adi Guru, Lakshmana himself. He comes in and says, everything is one, but it is one unit. So Narayana, Sriman Narayana is like the soul of the universe. Nara means human beings. Nara means the community of human beings. Narayana means the shelter of the community of human beings. And Om Namo Narayanaya Namaha means that you are taking shelter of the Supreme Lord, who is the shelter of all living entities. So then what happens is that there is a Visheshana, which is like an adjective. There is a Visheshya, which is the core word. Everything that is present in the universe is to define the greatness of the Supreme Lord, Narayana. Hari Sarvatra Giyate, right from the beginning to end, all scriptures talk about glorifying Lord Krishna, the Supreme Lord, Srimad Narayana. In fact, there is no word which is not connected to the Lord. Sripad Madhvacharya proved that wonderfully. He just used the word bha 100 times. Bha, 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 bha. Like that, he wrote a whole sloka series with different meanings for each word. Each time he used the word bha. Just the word Vishwam Vishnur, the first two words of Vishnu Sahasranama, he gave 100 interpretations and commentary to those two words. That's Madhva. We are in that lineage. That is why we are so grateful to Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Because the Mayavadis sort of claimed monopoly over Vedanta. And Srila Prabhupada uses the phrase Vedantis, they don't have teeth. Because obviously they said there is no God technically, so why should they have the teeth? So Vedantis, but it was very clear that when Madhva Muni, that was the name with which Ananda Tirtha wrote his commentaries, Madhva Muni. So his followers were called Vedantis also. Tattvavadis later, but Vedantis in general. So it is not like Shankara and his followers have a monopoly over Vedanta Darshana. So anyway, Ramanuja said that it is all one unit. It is Advaita, but there is the defined characteristic or the entity, the definitive characteristic and the defining characteristic, Visheshana and Visheshya. And between them, there is a very special relationship. So it is called Vishishta Advaita. They are one unit. The living entity, the Supreme Lord and Prakriti, they are one entity. They are all dependent realities of the original reality, which is Srimad Narayana. This is Vishishta Advaita, qualified non-dualism. Okay, now that separated a few other people. Again, somebody who was genuinely, and Ramanuja focused on prapatti or surrender. So people started taking shelter of Supreme Lord Srimad Narayana. Now it had to be conclusively established that the Supreme Lord Sri Hari is supreme. So then, therefore, Mukhya Prana Vayu was sent. And you see the famous painting of Srimad Madhvacharya with his two fingers up, Dvaita. He said nothing doing, there is no one business, there is all two. There is Pancha Bheda. There is a Bheda between Jiva and Ishvara. First, between God and the living entity, first. Second, we all know that Mamaivamsha Jivaloke Jiva Bhuta Sanatana, and when Krishna asks somebody to surrender to him, there has to be difference. Srila Prabhupada mentions in one of the purports of Bhagavad Gita, I think it's 6.47, he says that for bhakti to be performed, there are three things that are required. There is Bhagavan, Bhakta and Bhakti. So there has to be a separate entity offering the devotion. And therefore, it is two. Between Jiva and Ishvara, there is a difference. Between two Jivas, there is a difference. Madhva says even when they are liberated, they will have different services to Srimad Narayana. So there is difference between two Jivas is eternal. Between Ishvara and Jiva, there is a difference. Between Jiva and Jiva, there is difference. Now there is Prakriti. Krishna says clearly, Maya Adhyakshana Prakriti. It is under his supervision that Prakriti functions. He says, Devi Hyasha Gunamaya Mama Maya Durateya. It is his Maya, not that he is Maya. It is his Maya. So, he talks about, there is this famous Vedic verse in the Upanishad, which Srila Prabhupada quotes this from Taittiriya Upanishad. Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma Yo Veda Nihitam Guhayam Parame Vyoman. Satyam Jnanam and Anantam. Yadava Prakasha, the first teacher of Ramanuja, was a Mayavadi by education. And those days everybody was Mayavadi because it was nice to be Mayavadi. It was fashionable. Like it's now fashionable to be atheistic or agnostic. So it was fashionable. Even Achyuta Preksha, the initiating guru of Madhva, was externally Mayavadi. But internally he was a pure devotee of the Lord. So he asked this question. Yadava Prakasha asked this question to Ramanuja. Later on, when he realized Ramanuja's greatness, he just said, Brahman is Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma. So Ramanuja explains that Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma means they are the qualities of Brahman. If the qualities of Brahman are there mentioned separately other than Brahman, it means that Brahman is different from its qualities. It means that not everything is always one. There are two. Brahman is different from his qualities. So like that he explained. Madhva took it even further. There is a difference between Ishvara and Jiva. There is a difference between two Jivas. There is a difference between Ishvara and Prakriti. There is a difference between Prakriti and Prakriti. I can speak on this mobile, but my speaking on the mobile will not be heard by, say, 125, 200, whatever, 200 people, 150 people who are here. Will not be possible. So each of the Prakriti elements has a different function to perform. So there is a difference between Prakriti and Prakriti. Jiva and Jiva. Ishvara and Jiva. Ishvara and Prakriti. So these are the 5 differences between Ishvara and Jiva, between Ishvara and Prakriti, between Jiva and Jiva, between Prakriti and Prakriti, and what's the combination left? Jiva and Prakriti. That's the main thing. And in Kali Yuga, as things progress, we get messages on WhatsApp which says God wants us to use things and love people. But what do? We love things and use people. You see that? It's because people are increasingly getting dehumanized. I had gone to a devotee's house in Gurugram when I used to preach there some nearly 20 years back, I think. Yeah, it's around 2006, 2007. Or maybe this incident happened a little much later. So there were 5 people sitting in the house. The father, the mother, the son, the daughter, me and my teammate, Brahmachari assistant. And we suddenly realized that at a point of time when his daughter pointed out that 6 of us all were looking at the mobile and working on it. We were not speaking with each other. We're sitting right there, but we're not speaking with each other. And I still remember when I connected to ISKCON in the year 2000, I stayed in a place called Srishti in Mira Road in Mumbai. And I met my neighbors only when they checked out of their house and said, we're moving out, a new neighbor is coming. I said, oh, I didn't know you were neighbors. So that's the amount of dehumanization that's happening. And this Srila Prabhupada mentions is because of the excessive stress on impersonalism. Therefore, exploitation of natural resources is happening. Therefore, Madhva's philosophy is ever more relevant than before. Because Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada says, everything is there in this material world. The only thing missing is Krishna consciousness. So, if you understand Madhva's teachings in clear perspective, it'll be worthwhile for us to understand that we have to worship the Supreme Lord and engage everything in His service. Nirbandha Krishna Sambandha Yukta Vairagyam Uchyate. So there, I wanted to say this. This is very nice. I really like this prayer. When we say Paramahamsa Parivrajagacharya, like that, this is Sripad Madhvacharya's introduction, like an emperor comes. This is very nice. Just hear it out. I'll give you some small explanation. Swasti Srimad Paramahamsa Parivrajagacharya Varyavadanyeka Gunaganalyanggrida Padavakya Pramana Pravara Parangata Sarvatantra Swatantra Srimad Bhaimi Satyabhama Sameda Sri Gopala Krishna Pada Padmayadaga Srimad Advaita Vaishnava Siddhanta Pratishtapanacharya Srimadananda Tirtha Paranimaka Sriman Madhvacharya Jaya Vijayi Bhava. Nice, right? This is how they used to welcome him. And his teachings were such that many acharyas have mentioned it. They mentioned that originally he was Madhavi Gopi also. That is also mentioned. It's mentioned that is Madhavi Gopi. But when there is fire in the house, you don't sit and watch a TV. So it was important that impersonalism was rampant. So Sripad Madhvacharya had to subsume his innermost ecstasies and preach against Mayavada. It is very, very important. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur mentions in Jaiva Dharma the Amnaya Sutra. He also mentions in Dashamula Tattva the same thing, on which Srila Prabhupada specifically said that devotees should finally read these books. Chaitanya Shikshamrita, Jaiva Dharma, Dashamula Tattva, etc. There is a famous shloka, Amnaya Praha Hariha Paramam Sarvashaktim Rasabdim Tadbhinnam Sham Sattva Bhavan Prakriti Suvalitan Tadvimuktasya Bhavan Bheda Bheda Prakasham Sakalamapi Hare Sadhanam Shuddha Bhaktim Sadhyam Tat Priti Me Tatyupadasati Janan Gaura Chandra Swayamva. Srimad Madhvacharya's teachings could be summarized in as 9 primarily. If we add the element of Achintya Bheda Veda, it becomes 10. That is the Amnaya Sutra. So let us examine it from this angle, from the Gaudiya angle. What is the first point? Hari Iha Paramam. The Supreme Lord Sri Hari is Supreme. Sarva Shaktim, He is the source of all energies. Rasabdhim, He is the reservoir of all pleasures and mellows. Tad Binnam Sham Sattva Bhavan, He is, His parts and parcels are the multiple jivas, they are separated. Prakriti Suvalitan Tad Vimuktasya Bhavan, there is those who are liberated and those who are bonded or conditioned. So how many done so far? 7. Sadhanam Shuddha Bhaktim, Bheda Bheda Prakasham Sakalim Apihare. Everything is simultaneously one and different from the Supreme Lord. There is Bheda Bheda Prakasham. Sakalam Apihare. And then what? Sadhanam Shuddha Bhaktim. Pure devotional service is the sadhana for us. And then Sadhyam Tat Priti Metyat Upadasiti Janan Gaurachandra Swayamva. Sadhyam, which means the purpose or the goal of life or the prayojana is what? Tat Pritim, which means love of God, Krishna Prema. And who has said this? Gaurachandra Swayamva, the Supreme Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has personally said this. I personally feel that whichever festival we have in ISKCON, whether it is Ramanavami, Janmashtami, appearance of Acharyas, everything, we should find a way to connect it to the Gaudiya tradition and see how Mahaprabhu or his followers have talked about this. So, Srimad Madhvacharya wrote so many works. The texts can be counted almost 32,000 texts. It's substantial and it's all pure devotion service or refuting Mayavad. So, I just want to read something from this is from Mahaprabhu's journey to Udupi as described in the Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. But before that, there is the part of Sri Navdeep Dham Mahatmya. In that Adhyaya 16, 51 to 56, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur talks about how Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took 2 elements from Srimad Madhvacharya Sampradaya. Madhvaite sarvadvaya koriba grahana ekaha kevala advaita nirasana. So 2 things Mahaprabhu took from each Sampradaya, but primarily from Madhva Sampradaya he took these 2 elements. What is the first one? Kevala Advaita Nirasana, which means the unequivocal condemnation of Advaita, impersonalism. Smashed it. Not just Madhva, all his followers. Later on, Vadiraja Tirtha, who became a second Madhvacharya. Jaya Tirtha was on the planet only for 24 years. He was so ferocious in compiling this. And Jaya Tirtha is no ordinary person. You know who was Jaya Tirtha? Okay, so Madhvacharya used to give his commentary. It was, okay, some story is also required. If only philosophy means not enough sufficient masala in North India. So, Madhvacharya used to give wonderful exposition of his teachings, Dvaita Siddhanta. But devotees used to feel that this is so difficult to digest. So, who can write a commentary on your works, Sripad? They used to ask him. So there was a bullock cart standing there, and there was an ox or a bull who was bound to that car. And all the scriptures of Madhva were kept on that. So it was mentioned that they asked him this question, and Madhva said, even that bull can like the commentary. Even that bull can write the commentary. He used to repeatedly say that. So devotees, how can a bull write the commentary? It's just not possible. So one day, the bull unfortunately got bitten, or fortunately got bitten by a snake and passed away. The soul who was occupying the bull passed away. Now later on, this person was born in the area between Karnataka and Maharashtra, and he was a Kshatriya, he was a chieftain. And one day he was crossing the stream of a river, and he was drinking. He bent down and he was drinking water from the horse. So I think it was Akshobhya Tirtha who was passing that way, and he said, "Are you an animal? Are you an animal? You're drinking water like this. Are you an animal?" So it's like, like you have in movies, it comes, "Are you an animal? Are you an animal? Are you an animal?" So it gets, oh my God, I was an animal. I was a bull. I was with Madhva. And that person became Jayatirtha, one of the greatest acharyas after Madhva. He ferociously condemned Mayavada in 24 years, just 24 years. Jayatirtha wrote the Bhashya. His name comes in the list of acharyas mentioned by Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur for us in the Parampara. In Gita it comes, Jayatirtha. Within a very short time, he ferociously smashed Mayavada. So Advaita Nirasana is like the favorite hobby of Madhva followers. They have to. I remember in my hostel when I was doing my MBA, I used to show off my understanding of philosophy because I was following Advaita philosophy. And there was this very simple boy from Karnataka who came and he just completely smashed me. And then said, Madhva says Vedas are pramana. I said, what pramana? What is the meaning of the word pramana? I had no idea. So Madhva accepts all the pramanas, Shabda pramana, Anumana pramana, that is Pratyaksha pramana, Shabda pramana and Anumana pramana. But he says that Shabda pramana is superior because Vedas are the words of God. So his Shastric contribution has been immense. He smashed the Mayavadis. Pundarika Puri was Mayavadi. Prabhupada writes about it. He defeated him in an argument. He refuted all his arguments, and Pundarik Puri stole all his works. Because out of envy, he stole all his works. And then Jayasimha, King Jayasimha of Kumbhala, who was originally a Jain follower, he became a Vaishnava and disciple of Madhva. He recovered all the works finally for Madhvacharya. That's how all the works of Madhvacharya are still preserved. Srila Prabhupada says, if we study the book called Sumadhva Vijaya, written by Naranacharya, Naranacharya was the younger brother of Trivikramacharya. Trivikrama Pandita was the person who initially wrote all the commentary of Sripad Madhvacharya's works. And Sripad Madhvacharya's younger brother, Vishnu Tirtha, he's still meditating in, I think, Kumarapura or something. And Madhvacharya himself, it is mentioned that he was speaking to his disciples about all the teachings that he wants them to follow. He said that do not allow lust, anger, envy, greed, avarice, sloth, etc. to come into your heart. Never indulge in material activities. Always indulge in spiritual activities at the exclusion of material activities. Please do not give up dharma, ethics and other things just because you're practicing spirituality. Follow them also. He also, please follow Ekadashi Vrata to the best extent possible. Most of the serious Madhva followers, they do Nirjala on all Ekadashis. And Madhva introduced personally deity worship standards which are there in Udupi. It's mentioned here next. Krishna Murti Nitya Janita Hara Sevan Chaita Dvitiya Sara Jana Mahajan. The second element of Madhva Sampradaya that was borrowed, or not borrowed, it belongs to Mahaprabhu anyway. He extracted it from that. That is Sri Vigraha Seva, Sri Murti Sevan. Kevala Advaita Nirasana and Sri Murti Sevan. These two things were taken from the Madhva Sampradaya. Of course, we do see that a lot of the deity worship that is followed in ISKCON is more in line with the Sri Vaishnava Sampradaya than Madhva Sampradaya so much. But still, the element of stress on deity worship is very, very significant in Madhva Sampradaya. So much so, the 8 mathas who have paryaya of 2 years each in worshipping the Udupi Krishna, it is the sannyasis who personally worship the Supreme Lord. Standards are very high. I remember they had wanted me to translate the book on Madhvacharya. So I went to the existing Madhva Sampradaya sannyasi and asked him to sign on my book. So he would not touch the pen that I would give him. He just took his pen and signed like this on the, very high. So Very, very high standards they maintain. And they also travel and preach. During the 2 years of their Paryaya, they stay in Udupi and worship. Rest of the time, they travel around the world trying to raise funds for their Paryaya. So preaching has also come from there. And the way Udupi Krishna, who is the center of the Madhva Sampradaya, came is so beautiful. We will get to the close of this lecture or the conclusion of the lecture with this. Just one more point after that, this particular pastime. So Mother Devaki had a desire to observe the childhood pastimes of Lord Krishna. Like Mother Yashoda had a desire to observe the marriage pastimes of Krishna. So the Lord appeared as what? Venkateshwara. So Mother Devaki had a desire to see the childhood pastimes of Krishna, because she gave that credit to Yashoda. And Yashoda gave the fame to Devaki of being mother. So Acharyas say that Devaki's another name was Yashoda and Yashoda's another name was Devaki. So it gets cancelled out. But Devaki had this desire to observe the childhood pastimes of Krishna. So one day, as she expressed her desire, the Lord immediately changed himself into a little boy. And he sat on her lap, and there was some butter there. He took a churning rod, and I think on the other hand, he just broke it open. He had that butter in his hand and churning rod in his hand as well, and he started going up and down, playing, creating all kind of mischief, and he brought in ecstasy to Mother Devaki. Now this form was so divine that Mother Rukmini was completely enamored by this. So the Lord appeared as a deity form, and that form was worshipped by Mother Rukmini. In Rukmini Vana it was kept. Later on, Arjuna worshipped this supreme form of the Supreme Lord, the beautiful, most endearing form of the Supreme Lord. And later on, in the Gopi Kunda that is there, it got kind of buried. Now even if we go there, we can get that chandana. And there was this man who was carrying a lot of sandalwood and many other things on a ship. And by the sea, I think it was Arabian Sea, that's by Arabian Sea, West Coast. So he got stuck somewhere there in one of the corners. So Madhva, because he's Vayu, he created favorable winds so that the ship could be moored properly. I asked him, how can I serve you? So he said that, there is a mound of chandana in your ship. Why don't you please get it for me? Nobody else even knew it. Madhva knew it. So he brought that. He didn't bring it. Actually, 30 people couldn't lift it. So Madhva alone lifted it. They broke it open. There was Udupi Krishna inside. So he personally carried the deity and established him. It's such a beautiful form of the Supreme Lord. Udupi, Namma Udupi Sri Krishna. That's how the Kannadigas worshipping. Namma Udupi, meaning our Udupi Sri Krishna. They worship him like that. And Madhvacharya composed many shlokas, Dwadasha Stotra, and many Narasimha Nakastuti. There are some wonderful prayers written by him. Completely personal, devotional elements in his heart. He even talks about there is in subtle mention of Gopi Bhav, not you, Gopi Bhav, in his scripture. And he had to kind of subsume that mood because of the fact that, like we said, there is fire in the house. He had to do that. So his strength was extraordinary. We know that. There was Prabhupada gives the example of a wrestler called Kadanjari who could actually defeat tens of people. But Madhva just pressed his left toe on the ground and he couldn't even move it. Similarly, if you read Sumadhva Vijaya, you will see there are many such instances, not just once. Many wrestlers, two brothers wanted to show off their strength. And Madhva said, okay, I'll keep chanting the Upanishad. You please catch hold of my neck and make me stop chanting. Two of them caught hold of his neck and he would still continue chanting the Upanishad. He could eat like 4,000 bananas in one stretch and drink liters and liters of milk. When he was a little child, he felt hungry. And they had kept a whole sack full of horse gram. When they came back, that sack was empty. He was inside because he had eaten everything. And whenever his mother would call, he would jump in one leap to that place. It's mentioned by Prabhupada, this pastime is mentioned. And Acharyas say, the Madhvacharya say that the place where he would land, his footprints are still there. Some of us have seen it. And there's a tamarind tree right at the courtyard. So when Nadillaya or Madhvacharya Bhatta he had to take a loan to buy a cow. And Brahmanas, you know the story, right? No story ever starts without there was a poor Brahmin. Brahmana has to be poor. So he was poor and he was indebted to this person. He had to give back that money. He had no option. So one day this creditor came. He just stood in between him and the house. You will not enter your house till you repay my loan. So little Vasudeva, that was the name they had given him, Vasudeva. So Vasudeva came and he said, what is this? Why is he not allowing you inside? So he said, Vasu, we have taken loan from him. I don't know what to do. Oh, that's all. Then what did he do? He took some few tamarind seeds and gave it to that person. Now it was exactly the amount that was his loan. All the tamarind seeds got converted to coins. And it was the exact amount of the loan and he paid them off. Acharyas, the Madhvacharyas say, Madhva Acharyas, they say that these seeds became the seeds of his liberation. Through that, this person got liberated because he received that from Madhva. And he was so beautiful in his music that he would play the veena and the seeds will sprout and become saplings and become plants. In his hand, he would make them sprout. Just extraordinary. Once he separated his disciple Satyatirtha, who went with him to Badrikashrama to receive the mercy of Vyasadeva, who is his Shiksha Guru. His Guru is Achyuta Preksha. Vyasadeva gave him Shiksha. He gave him the Ashta Shilas also, Saligram Shilas also. He confirmed his Gita Tatparya Nirnaya. He confirmed his commentary on Vedanta Sutra, etc. So Satyatirtha was attacked by a tiger and personally he separated them and with his superhuman strength Madhva killed that tiger. And even as a child he killed Maniman, a demon in the form of a snake, just by pressing him with his left toe. Prabhupada mentions all this in the purport to Chaitanya Charitamrita. Now the important thing to understand is Madhva was not just all this. He was a great linguist. He spoke many languages. So once he had to cross the Ganga and the other side were the Persians, the invaders. So they attacked him. As he crossed, then the person stopped him and he said, why are you trespassing our territory? And that Madhva spoke to him in chaste Persian. He told him, your Khuda who is there in your heart and in my heart is the same. Why should there be differences between us? And that person was willing to give him half of his territory. He became so inspired by this person, servant of God. He was willing to give him half his territory. When he was passing through Maharashtra, Prabhupada gives this example also. The king was a bit of a tyrant. He would engage everybody who would pass by in digging a well because there was no water. But what did Madhva do? Madhva engaged him. And when he started doing this, Madhva said, the moment you started serving, the heart of Mother Earth melted and she's giving you water. And he did that. And there is no end to this, just some extraordinary, amazing pastimes. He defeated Mayavadis across. And his philosophy, including Shobana Bhatta and Shamika Shastri, two of his disciples who became Nirhari Tirtha and Padmanabha Tirtha, his two earliest disciples. They are in the Guru Parampara also. They were defeated by him in argument. They were Mayavadis. Okay, let us conclude with one philosophical point on that. So, Shobana Bhatta asked him this question. If you say that all the water goes into the ocean, it becomes one, how do we understand that Jiva is different from Ishvara? That's what they say. Akashat patitam toyam sagaram prati gacchati. All the water falls from the sky and goes into the ocean. So it's all the same. So Madhva just called for 2 glasses of water, 2 pots. In one pot there was a lot of water another pot, there was a little less water. So he poured water from this to the other pot. So he said, this is also water, this is also water. But if I pour water from this pot onto this pot, what has happened to the quantity of water? It is increased. So there is a difference between this water and that water. What did Prabhupada say in this connection? Rivers may flow into the ocean, but the ocean also has aquatics. These are the devotees who are ever immersed and bathing and swimming in the ecstatic waters of Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. So we must remember from Srimad Madhvacharya's teachings that he pleased Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. That is why he accepted his own sampradaya. That means the Supreme Lord is pleased with the offering of Vayu, Jivotama. And he had performed many miracles, but his greatest miracle is the fact that his sampradaya is today going across the world. Like the Pejawar Mutt, Acharya said, maybe Maharaj was personally there in Mayapur, I don't know when this happened. He said that like Bhagirata brought Ganga from the higher planets, Srila Prabhupada brought the Ganga of Bhakti from Bharata to across the world and the Western world. So we have very close relationship with the Madhva Sampradaya, and we should also understand that Lakshmipati Tirtha, who was from the Madhva Sampradaya, he initiated Sripad Madhavendra Puri, and that's how our line begins. Sripad Madhvacharya Tirobhav Tidi Mahamotsav ki, Srila Prabhupada ki. Maharaj would like to add something, please. We can take one question before Prasadam. Yes, Vilas Padmanabha Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Prabhuji, Adi Shankaracharya promoted Mayavad and Madhvacharya promoted Dvaitavad.
Yes.
So, is there anything between the process like...
That is Vishishta Dvaita of Ramanuja. Even before that, there is Shuddha Dvaita of Vishnu Swami. That is the first sampradaya that came. Because he appeared at the end of Dwapar Yuga. Shuddha Dvaita, which is later on the Advaita subsumed that also. They said it's not Vishnu Swami, it is Shiva Swami. They took that philosophy also. Because it is Shuddha Dvaita, ours is Kevala Dvaita, it's the same. So then that became, later on Pushti Marga is an offshoot of the Rudra Sampradaya. Then Vishishta Advaita, which is qualified non-dualism, came. That is Ramanuja. And he completely took it one level higher in the form of Dvaita, which is what Madhva presented. Later on, Nimbarka came up with Dvaita Advaita, which is very, very close to Achintya Veda Veda. Dvaita Advaita. Because simultaneously one and different. So that's the transition. Someday we can have a seminar on the four sampradayas for the brahmacharis. I don't know if the congregation will have the time and the patience and inclination, but at least those of you are inclined for this, we can have some seminar for the brahmacharis. This four sampradayas. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur has mentioned wonderfully in his book about the acharyas of the four sampradayas. Okay, any question from mothers? Others and mothers? Okay, no. Srila Prabhupada ki, Sripad Madhvacharya Tirobhav Titi Mahamotsav ki, Nidha Nidha Gaur Sitanath Premanande.